Hi there. Thanks for joining me for part 2 of our adaptations in our Habitats and Communities study. We're going to be working through the sheet that we were following along with in regards to the adaptation video, where we learned a bunch of new vocabulary about different physical and behavioral adaptations. Hopefully you filled in all the blanks already. If not, you're going to see them as I show you what we're going to do next with that particular sheet. After having filled in all the blanks on this sheet, we've got the vocabulary down, and now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of a visual in there so that we're able to remember what the different types of adaptations are. First thing we're going to do is create a title, which is going to actually fold down, and then we're going to write the title again underneath so that it becomes an interactive flip page for our science journal. So I'm just going to use bubble letters. You're welcome to use whichever letters work best for you. Just make sure they look good and it's not a rush job. I'm actually going to be putting my letters behind one another. And you're welcome to give this a try if this isn't something that you've done before. Now that I've got that title in, what I can do is I can fold along this dotted line right here so that I can see the back of it. And what I should be able to do is I should be able to see where the outline is. I'm just going to put little pencil marks here so that I know where the border is of my title. So now that I've got those, what I can do is I can redo the title here, and I'm just going to do it's a good way to tell whether you're actually doing this if you're thinking ahead while you're working on this, because I am running out of space. And I can't go past this line. So adaptation, I'm just going to leave as adaptation. Try to space yours out a little bit better. Had I started a little bit closer over here, I would have been able to put the S in. All right, so I've got this. It'll flip up like this in my science journal. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of these and have an example of each of the different types of physical adaptations in the bubble next to it. So over on this side, camouflage, I want an example of that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a bunch of, looks like snowmen so far, but it's going to be rocks or bubbles. And then what I'm going to draw on top of that is I'm going to try to draw a chameleon. And so I'm just going to go like this. I'm going to have a tail that curls around like so. And I'm just going to give him a big eyeball so that we can see him. I'm going to give him a little bit of a smile there. And when I color it in, I'll highlight so that we can see that there is some, hide his leg in there, so that he is camouflaged with his background. And that's an example of camouflage. Mimicry, I like the example from the earlier video, so I'll draw a branch here. Oh, I should probably put a label here, chameleon. And I'll want to make sure that I put that in dark black afterwards so that it stands out, because I want people to be able to see that it's not just a bunch of scribbles. This is going to be my walking stick. And I'm going to give him an eyeball. And I need to have a title or a description, walking stick. That's a good example of mimicry, looking or sounding like another living organism. Chemical defenses. This is not necessarily an art class, so if you don't have artistic abilities such as myself for this, let's make sure that we have labels so that we can figure out what it is. And what I'm going to do is I am drawing a big stripe along there, and this is going to be my skunk. And of course I want to show the chemical defense that he's got, and so we'll have lots of stuff flinging out of his backside there. The last one is going to be body coverings and parts, and I think for this one I'm going to want to do a couple of different ones. I'm going to have do an eagle's claw. And if you have a better example, you're welcome to do that instead. I have an eagle's claw, and I'm actually going to do a turtle shell as well. And turtle shell. And that's going to be our physical adaptation so far, which you can now see. Haha. Next, we're going to do the behavioral adaptation sketches, and for this, we're going to be doing illustrations inside that are going to match with all of these. These are the instinctive ones at the top, and we can actually write down instinctive right here just so that we have it. It will show up again on the other side because we're going to make this into a flip page in a little bit, but first we have to do the illustrations and the coloring. Otherwise it gets really tricky trying to color details on loose flappy things. Happen naturally and don't need to be learned, and we're going to try to do as many of these as we can. So methods of gathering and storing food, the easiest one for me to do for there would be squirrel, and remember that we're going to be labeling these so that you don't have to worry, does it actually look, this looks an awful lot like my skunk. And he's going to be holding an acorn. Squirrel. And I'm just going to separate that, defending oneself. Finding shelter. Show a cave or a burrow of a bear. And remember, if you have a better animal or a better example, you're welcome to do those instead. Raising young. This one's going to look a little bit strange, but it's going to be actually a lioness in the background raising her young, and the lion, the male, is going to be off in the distance or closer to us, and the mother and baby will be off in the distance. So this is going to be, that's going to need a label, isn't it? Lioness and cubs. Nobody needs to teach them how to raise their young. They just automatically know how to do that. That's instinctive. And migrating, well, that's going to be geese. All right, so that's my instinctive. And next is going to be my learned behaviors. For learned behaviors, a really good example would be bears learning how to hunt and swim. Those are things that polar bears need to be taught. And so if I draw a polar bear, I'll write down learned here just so that we know what our focus is. And polar bear, we'll just draw a big ball like that. Looks like a drumstick, doesn't it? And then feet. Rounded ears. And we'll call polar bear bears hunting and fishing. And you have space over here to do another one. And you are welcome to do some research online to look for that. If you have better examples from over here, I realize now I should have probably, for rhino, the defending oneself, I might even put a spider spinning a web in there would be a good example there as well, because you don't have to teach a spider how to make a web. All right, so that's this section. What's going to happen next is we're actually going to cut out around this entire thing. Now, we have to do it in a certain way, so hopefully you're able to follow along with what I'm doing here. I'm cutting along the outside of the black line. And, maybe even before you guys start cutting, you're going to want to make sure that you get some color into yours. Mine is simply the example, so I'm not going to be coloring this one just yet. So this is what it should look like right now. And then wherever you see the dotted lines, that's where you're going to do your fold. So this one we should already have. This one is going to get tucked underneath. And this right along here should look like this. So that once it's all folded up, neat and tidy like this, and then what we're going to do is we're actually now going to label this one and label this one with diagonal letters. And we're going to start at the top, and we're just going to work our way down at an angle going down like this. So I've got physical written down like this, and now behavioral is a bit of a longer word. If bubble letters are too hard for you, you're welcome to just use just regular letters, and then make them a little bit thicker so that they stand out, so it doesn't look just like pencil scratches. And now would be your chance to do little doodles or anything like that that you want to fill in here, because once this is done, what's going to happen is we are then going to, oh yeah, don't forget to color in these words as well. Make them look super nice, make them stand out, outline them with something dark, shade them in lightly in the inside. And what you're going to do after that is you're going to take scissors and very carefully you're going to cut right from the outside to the dotted line. That's it. Stop there. Do not cut this area here. You should have 4 separate ones, and all of them can fold in here. And then what we can do is we can flip out one at a time. Okay? This one here, you're cutting in between. And you're going to stop right where that dotted line would be, so that you've got 2 separate ones. And here are your different flaps. The one last thing I think we should do is probably just put the first letter, camouflage, M for mimicry, C, D for chemical defense, and this one is going to be B, C, P. I don't know if it fits there. I'll put it over here. B, C, P. And over here, behavioral. This is going to be instinctive. And this one is going to be learned. And there we have it. Once it's nice and colored in, what we're going to do is we're going to take the back, which has nothing on it, and this is where we're going to glue. And now we can glue this into our science journal as a reflection of what we've done so far in our learning of habitats. All right. Thank you very much for joining me.